Hello and welcome to Blockchain Gaming World with me, John Jordan. So we're doing our monthly roundup of the most popular blockchain games. This is for the month of August 2024. Got a bunch of graphs actually. So quite a few games launching and things to talk about. So as is sort of the case, we start off looking at Pixels. So Pixels has been the most popular blockchain game for 2024, although we can see quite a lot of volatility. Actually, during July and August, sort of stabilised back to around 750,000 daily active unique wallets. We have to be a little bit careful in terms of obviously what that means. We know there's bots in Pixels, and we can see there was a big drop off in June, and that was when the reward system has changed, and we saw a lot of bots not working anymore. Looks like the sort of bots have come back. Obviously, there are real players as well. Sort of steady as she goes a little bit with Pixels. They're always sort of thinking about their reward structure and what they're trying to do there. So obviously they're down from their peak. They were over 1 million daily active unique wallets at one point in May. Now down to 750,000. And obviously the caveat that there are bots in Pixels is the caveat that there are bots in all blockchain games. So we just don't know really the percentage. Pixels have a bit of an idea now about how many there may be. In this graph, I've also added Lumiterra. So Lumiterra is again another game on the Ronin blockchain, the same as Pixels. It is a sort of RPG. It's been in development for a while. Actually, it's a Web 2 game, and now sort of the Web 3 stuff is coming live. We see obviously a massive spike when the game. The game sort of has gone live, but it's not sort of properly live as a sort of a sort of global launch. So we saw a massive spike at 750,000 when the game sort of went live and people were collecting stuff, and that sort of typical crypto sort of boom, sort of sharp spike up and then coming down. So we can see it peaked literally for a day and then came right back down again. So that game's, as I say, not live. They're sort of doing their early stage testing and all that sort of closed beta, open beta sort of thing. So we just sort of put that in there as a example of, we'll look at Ronin in a bit more detail later on. There's a graph on Ronin, but Lumiterra had that typical crypto spike with everyone sort of like piled in, and then decided they weren't going to play it. But as I say, the game's not live yet, so maybe it can sort of recover. But there we go. So. Then we go to a series of graphs they're called less popular blockchain games. So it's looking at the sort of ones that are less popular, at least than Pixels. So these are ones, they're sort of running at a fairly decent level. So, potentially they've hit over 100,000 daily active unique wallets. So we take the blue line first, that's Boomland. So that's not one particular game, although the main game in there is Hunters on Chain. So they're basically playing it's Hunters on Chain's activity and a whole bunch of sort of marketing that they're doing with some of their other games. So this is sort of a more like a ecosystem, looking at the audience for the whole ecosystem. So the reason Boomland has come down in August is that the first play to earn campaign for Hunters on Chain ended. So people were playing that game to end up on a leaderboard, and they got rewarded in token NFTs. The second campaign will go live, I think, in September. So we'll sort of expect to see Boomland sort of go back up again as that campaign happens. Katizan is a Telegram game running on the Ton blockchain. So it's one of these games where they sort of announce very high off-chain numbers. We know there's a lot of bots on Telegram. I think it was 20 million or so, 25 million. I can't remember how many accounts they've had, but they're running up close to like 100,000 on-chain wallets a day. Again, with Katizan, we're sort of waiting for the token to go live, so probably up to that point, the audience will stay high, and there'll be probably a peak when the token goes live. And then the interesting thing is how much of that sort of audience they keep after the sort of initial token event. Block Lords Dynasty, sort of similar really. So it peaked getting on for 150,000 daily active unique wallets, fully on-chain game running on the base blockchain. Again, they basically sort of had, it was a sort of play, it was a bit more complicated than the play to airdrop token campaign, but it was effectively, that was sort of what was happening. You were playing the game and opening boxes and getting NFTs that then you could burn for the token. So when that came to an end, again we see this very strong drop off. In this case, it was an 80% drop off of audience. It's been pretty solid since. There's about 30,000 people, 25,000 wallets playing the game every day. And the reason you would play now is it feeds into your activity in the main PC game. So this is a browser game, but it's also a main PC game, and the two are interlinked. You can move NFTs between the two, and you can earn sort of different rewards across those games. So 25,000, 30,000 is sort of the number of people who are playing the main PC games. That sort of makes sense. And as you can see again, sort of the previous peak was either bots or people who were just playing the game to try and get rewards out. I mean, obviously, bots are sort of computerized systems, but also you have players who are just extractive players. They want to play the game, but just kind of if there's free money effectively going, then there are people who will sort of just look for those opportunities and play those games. So it's not necessarily all bots. It can be extractive players, and obviously we see there's over 100,000 of those in Block Wars Dynasty. So that's what's going on with those. Let's go further down the chain. So these are two games that have been out for a while now. I mean, Alien Wars have been out for years. And Chronicles has also been out for years, but launched its had a big growth spurt when it launched its mobile version in November 2023. So both these games have obviously, you can see, have experienced growth in 2024. Reasonable growth. So Alien World's up from 60,000 to 90,000. So they're not seeing this sort of massive explosive growth, but these games have been out for a while. But they're seeing sort of solid, sort of 20-30% growth over 2024 so far. Alien Worlds has been much higher in the past, so that's sort of come down from its peaks. Chronicles has never broken 100,000, so that would be sort of a good going if it managed to do that. But these are more sort of mature, they're both fully on-chain games, more mature games, and sort of the tokens have been out for a long time. So I guess we don't expect to see very strong growth unless they're sort of launching particular sort of campaigns. But I suppose in this case for these two projects, at least they're not going down as some other games are. Okay, so talking of games that are going down, so these are two games again that are sort of fairly new. So NightRoses is from We Made on its WeMix sort of platform. We get these very weird spikes. It is, I should point out, it's a Web 2 MMORPG on tablet and PC. Has about 300,000 daily active players. So a fairly sort of sizable game in terms of a web-enabled game. But we can see here in terms of on-chain activity, much smaller, more in the tens of thousands. And these big spikes you're seeing is they have this sort of quite weird system where players can mint the in-game token, but only when the token price is at certain levels. So you sort of tend to have these big spikes when the token price goes to a certain level. Everyone can, or people who are at a certain stage in the game can mint out these crow tokens, and you get big spikes, and then the token price falls down and it stops. So it's slightly weird, but we can sort of see, aside from that, it has I don't know, 7,000-8,000 players interacting with the blockchain from a total of about 300,000. Again, the big thing to see will that rise over time? You have to be level 45 in the game to be able to mint out the token. So over time, you'd expect to see more people become level 50, level 45 and be able to do that. So that's something we're looking at there. Guild of Guardians went live on the 15th of May. And obviously we can see what happened. Again, it's a sort of a Web 2 game, mobile game with Web 3 elements. So it's not a fully on-chain game. You wouldn't expect to see all the players interacting with the blockchain. It's really only when you're sort of leveling up sort of characters that you would in the game interact with the blockchain. So it's a sort of subset of the people who would just maybe be playing the game. But clearly we can see it sort of peaked at sort of mid-May when the game sort of went live and has been going down. So peaked at about 15,000, and it's down to heading down to sort of 6,000 at the moment. So in a sense, maybe that's what you expect when a game goes live. You get a peak and then people stop playing and drop off. But obviously just suggests that the game is sort of struggling to find sort of audience at the moment, because we can see this on-chain activity is sort of a sort of reflection of general activity in the game, I would think. So that's what's going on with Guild of Guardians. Okay, let's look at Ronin in particular. So Ronin is the Sky Mavis blockchain that it originally created for Axie Infinity, and now is still a permission chain. So it's not anyone can launch games on there. They sort of control it. Sky Mavis control it. But over time, they're launching more and more games. So we saw in the first graph, we saw Pixels, the biggest game, and this Terra Luma, which sort of launched and came down again in a sort of early stage access. But there's been some games on there for a while now. Again, not all of these games are sort of fully live. So Aperon is you're looking here at not game activity. So you're looking here at more sort of play to airdrop sort of stuff going on there. The game is available as a Web 2 game through app stores, but I don't think there's a lot of blockchain interaction in that at all. So this is more crypto activity, crypto marketing activity on Aperon. Interesting one to see is Wild Forest. So again, this is a mobile game. PC version is coming. It's a nice sort of real-time strategy game. Its token is coming out, the Wild Forest token. So obviously, to a degree, some of the growth we're seeing is because the token is going live. But equally, it is growing, pretty strong. And obviously, we've seen a comparison to something like Guild of Guardians, where it sort of launched and then went down. Wild Forest, is now well over 100,000 daily active unique wallets. So that's definitely a sort of a success story. What else we've got? Axie Infinity in blue. So that's obviously the game that's been around for many years. The activity now is pretty much being juiced by Sky Mavis giving away the AXS token. So again, this is sort of a incentivized activity. If those tokens weren't being given away, I think we'd sort of still see it down at the sort of sub 20,000 daily active unique wallets. But at the moment, they've done quite well driving that up. But they are giving away quite a lot of tokens. So hundreds of thousands of dollars a token every sort of month or so. And then Ragnarok is another sort of, as you can see, sort of new game. It launched a I thought it was a closed beta, but maybe it was a sort of more open beta than I thought. Anyway, they launched their first playable and saw a nice peak there, over 100,000. Obviously, it's dropped back down since. Again, these games sort of tend to launch periods of openness and drive audience in, and then they often sort of reset or these sort of audience peaks, and some people decide not to play. So again, these are sort of games, Ragnarok and Lunaterra are sort of games where they're not quite at their sort of formal launch sequence yet. So we wait to see where they go on that. But in general, you can see for these Ronin games, maybe early stages for many of them, but the sort of the growth, there is a sort of growth there. There is a sort of audience there. Obviously, for some of these, it may be the same people playing the game. So daily active unique wallets is just unique for that sort of wallet on that app. So maybe someone might be playing Aperon, Wild Forest, Axie Infinity, and Ragnarok. So you may you can't sort of say these are all different people. And the final thing here is so there's a game company called Joyride, been around for a while. They were doing all their stuff on the Flow blockchain, and now they've moved to Base. So actually, they are currently the sort of one of the larger game companies working on the Base blockchain. So that's Coinbase's Ethereum-based L2. They're again seeing some growth here. So they are also doing sort of a promotional sort of campaign here, particularly through the Super Champs is a sort of like an ecosystem app. So you can just interact with that app and sort of try to earn the champ token is coming out. It's not out yet. So people are sort of obviously social farming and all the usual things people do for airdrops through social champs. And there's two games out, Bullet League and Racket Rampage. Bullet League is like a 2D shooter. Racket Rampage is a tennis game. So they have some sort of audience, but really you can see as the people hear about the token, I think these champs token people are sort of like not bothering so much to play the games and just going and playing and just sort of operating through the app. So again, it's sort of seeing fairly decent growth. This is only for sort of the period of July and August, so a fairly short period of time. I guess when the token's out again, that will be the opportunity, the time for us to see whether people are actually bothering with the game or whether they're just there for the incentives. But just sort of something worth pointing out, I think, particularly as base seems to be a chain that people, that companies are looking towards. So we'll keep an eye on that. So that's what we have for August. So you know, a lot of activity now happening. Not all games going up. Some games going up a little bit. Some games seeing sort of typical crypto sort of spikes, particularly if they're running sort of token events or giving stuff away for free. The thing, obviously, we're always looking for is sustained audience sort of activity when there isn't incentivized sort of activity going on there. So that's really the sustained growth we want to see over time. But still early stages for many of these games. Anyway, okay, thanks for watching. See you again soon.